building and scaling B2B and B2C products. He holds a bachelor degree in mathematics and computer science from the University of Port Harcourt. He also has background experience in customer experience, business analysis, and also product management rather. And he has launched and managed product as well as scaled them across different sectors. So he has done data, government tech, that's GovTech, EdTech, fintech sectors, all around the startup ecosystem. Um, just to say again, thank you so much for doing this, Chinedu. We know that you have a wealth of experience and we would really like to hear from you and yeah, see how your opinion on CVs that we'll be reviewing today and how it would help everyone. Yeah. So even if your CV is not reviewed today, I would advise that you take notes, you take notes, you also have questions you want to ask, and we can drop them in the chat so that when we get to the Q&A session, you would also be able to ask your question when the time comes. Chineda, I don't know if you want to say a few things while I quickly get Oyinda CV.
Nothing really, just saying thanks, Oluwatosin, and it's really nice to be here. And yeah, I would love to learn with everyone. We'll go through CVs and then we'll get a sense of what it feels to be on the other side, right? Yeah. So that would be nice to do.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sharing now. Let me know if you can see this.
Yep, I can see.
I can also enlarge this, I guess, so that's legible enough.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I can see it clearly now. So you want me to start giving my very first thought as I look at the CV, yes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I will talk about 3 key points before I start giving a sense of what I look at for when I look at CVs. One, the very first thing is obviously relevance. But before relevance, yeah, well, there are 3 key points, and I'm going to talk about it in this exact order. The first one is difference, right? I want, every single time I'm looking like a couple of CVs, I want to see something that makes me stop and try to look into what you're doing, right? The second thing is obviously the relevance of the work that you've done and how it pertains to what I need. And then thirdly is attention to detail, right? It's something I take very, very personal. So my very first thought is, just by looking at this, is, oh, this misses attention to detail, right? That's my very first thought. So you have a very good summary, but there's no proper, like, adaptive, innovative. I mean, those sounds like things that are very, very generic, right? I want to know who you are, not what everyone thinks you should be, right? I want to learn so much about you, what you've done within just that, within that paragraph. So adaptive, innovative, analytic product manager. It sounds really, really nice. So what will I do? I will tell you to do away with those 3 keywords, right? It's not like the regular things that you've had. I want you to put some, some personality into your summary. So tell me, I'm a product manager with 3 years of experience. That is great, all right? And then you tell me what you've done, all right? So, I mean, it would be nice for you to go I'm a product manager with 3 years of experience, with a background in this. I mean, you have a background in computer science, so you could start with a background in computer engineering and whatever you've done previously. I have helped organizations do this, and this. What it does for me is that it tells me who you are, how many years of experience that you have, all right? What your background looks like. And then it tells me some of the things that you've done. I can now go, okay, you know what? I want to learn more about this person and start looking down the CV. Does that, whoever has this, Wale, does that make sense to you? I hope the person is here. Okay, they're not.
Yes, Oinda is here.
Yeah,
I would also like to turn on your video. It is fine.
yeah. That's what I want. Some personality, like I said, what you are as a product manager. So product manager with 3 years of experience, with a background in this and this, and I've helped organization across this sector. I've helped organization do this and this. That's a very good summary, because that's what you want to do. And then I'll be like, okay, I want to learn more about what you really help organizations do. And then obviously the most important one that everyone talks about is the format of your CV. It doesn't need to be a Word document, right? It has to be proper PDF. You could just do save as, export it as a PDF. That way you don't have issues with the next thing I want to talk about, which is alignment. So your CV, your resume, whatever it is, has to be properly sectioned. So this is where my third point comes into play, is the attention to detail. So I've looked at the summary. Okay, is the summary part of the education, or are they separate entities, right? So how do I know that? I mean, I have sense, obviously, right? I can tell you that summary is obviously different from education. But the second thing it tells me is that, does this individual really pay attention to detail? Because my eye can't read every single thing.
Sorry to cut in, Chinedu. I think that's my bad. I probably changed it into Word. So he or she actually sent it, and they sent it in PDF. Just a minute, let me quickly share.
That was my fault. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
sweet. It looks better here. So it was your fault.
Yeah, it was actually mine.
Okay.
Actually mine. Apologies.
Okay, sweet. That is beautiful. So yeah, about the summary. So I wouldn't talk about those sections because it is properly sectioned here. The other bit is I would move education downward a little bit. Now, here's the reason why I said I will move it out. Is because your summary gives me a glimpse of what your background is, right? So what I need to get into, this is how I always look at it. And I think this is one of the advantages. Sorry, I'm going to digress a little bit. One of the advantages that you have as a product manager is that you solve for the user, right? So every single time you're working on your resume or your CV, think of the person that is going to review it, right? So think of, which is why I said it has to be different, because the person is looking at 50 to 100 CVs, right? So what you're asking yourself is, what is going to make this person stop and pay really good attention to my own? So the summary has to be like catchy. Now, like I said, I'll move this education downwards, and then I'll bring the experience a little bit upward. What the story I'm trying to tell here is, I've told you a little bit about me that covers every single thing from my background, my education, and my experience. What I want to tell you now or give to you is what exactly we do, or what exactly the organization I've been working on do. So that's the next. Now on experience bit, this is something that I think people should pay attention to, is brief properties. I don't know them from anywhere. I've never heard about them, right? Again, it's about empathy. It's about thinking of the person that is looking at your resume. What you're supposed to give that person is a very brief description of what the organization does, right? Is it, what are they? Are they a challenger in the fintech space? Have they raised, is it a Series C organization? What do they do exactly? Just give me that brief description of what brief properties is about. And then what it does for me is that it also helps me, it ties into the very first point I mentioned, which is relevance, right? It helps me go, okay, yeah, these people do something quite similar to what we do. I think you might be a good fit for this role. Right? Your CV is supposed to have the right amount of information. So created informative and appealing content. Hmm. Yeah, it's too generic, right? It's how will I restructure this? So you're trying to it, when you're looking at your CV, you're trying to tell them that the work that you've done led to a specific outcome, right? I think the second one, which is develop social media campaign resulting in, is a bit more like it. That's the kind of thing I would love to see. So think about doing that across every single one of them. Um, yeah, it is about action and outcome. Action and outcome. I did this, and then we, you know, um, how do I say, created. Um, I'm trying to restructure this to make sense. Delivered content that helped the organization reach so number of customers within this period of time, right? So that way you've told me that, oh, this is exactly what you've done, and this is the impact that the work that you've had have done. Excuse me 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the same thing can be done across Enactus Nigeria. Again, the same thing across your lead project. It's about, like I said, and I like the fact that it's actually very just 3 key points or 2 of them. It makes absolute sense. It leads you exactly. It makes me read every single thing without being overwhelmed. I love that. Like I said, it's just put a little bit description of the organization and make sure that every single action is a bit more outcome driven as against just the task that you've done. Scroll down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's just about it. I don't know if there's any other thing you want from me, but that would be the only thing I would talk. Oh yeah. So sorry, one more thing in terms of being different is this is like a very huge task. Yeah. You found yourself amongst like hundreds of people, and these people would have something similar to what you have, right? So
Yes.
the big question you need to ask yourself is, how do I make my own slightly different to draw attention of the person that is looking at it? It could be a little bit of color. It doesn't need to be black and white, right? The whole thing. It could be a little bit of color. It could be, just think of something, just make sure that the colors are spread properly, not just, you spray the color everywhere. It could be a little bit of icons somewhere. Just again, pay attention to it. Just make sure that they're not too much, right? What you're looking for is what makes whoever is looking at it go, okay, you know what? Let me pay attention to this. Yeah, that's the final point I have on this.
Thank you so much for that, Chinedu. I think one thing I just wanted to ask you for Oyinda is that from Oyinda's CV, it's obvious that she's just transitioning, right? So she's on a transitioning journey. So what can she do to her CV? What can they do to their CV to make it at least to get them that first somebody to take a chance on them, right?
I think is leveraging transferable skills. So one of the things that most people don't like, what we do most times is to try. There's absolutely no finished product, especially for someone that is transitioning. So if you're transitioning, right, the question you should be asking yourself is, what is it that I know now, right, that I can share on my CV that makes this person go, okay, I know this person doesn't have this much experience. However, they have the drive, they have the passion to get to where they need to be. So scroll up a little bit. I think one of the things you could do here, just let's look at one. Now, here's a very one of the things that could be transferable. What we do in product management is, for the most part, all of us, we write spec, don't we? Right? We write spec, we manage engineers, well, we manage backlog. Or creating content, well, writing a spec is basically creating content, isn't it? You don't stop at writing spec, you also take the next step forward and write like launch documents, so that, which in this instance, it could lead to content. So I would rephrase that created informative and uplink content to, helped the product team draft, launch documentation to reach to such amount of people. All right, because that's all you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is to sell a product. That's what content marketers do, right? So what are we doing? Product managers, we just write specs for the organization or for the product. So when you have the product in the market, or when the product is about to go into the market, product managers would help digital marketers write the kind of content that will help them convert users. So that way, it tells me, okay, you know how to write product requirement documents. So that's how I will spin most of this. It's about taking most of what you think that you know in your current role and putting them into where you need to be.
Thank you so much, Chinedu. That's actually yeah, I do agree, right? And she can just leverage all our current experience into how it fits into product. And currently, from what she does here, she would definitely have something that intercepts with product already, just to leverage on it and then make the CV unique and different, like you said. Thank you for your time with. I don't know if Oinda has any feedback for us or question. You can drop them in the chat. Okay, so whilst Oinda is doing that, I think we should go into you're welcome, Oinda. I think we should go into another CV, and this time we're going to be looking into a CV of a product manager. So it's going to make it more practical for us here. And this is for Miraj. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your names well. That's a very interesting name.
It's Miraj.
Oh,
very phonetic.
Okay, thank you, Miraj. So yes, Miraj is actually a product manager. And I think this would also give room for feedback that would help also those that are.
Yeah. So again, looks properly section. I think one of the point which is quite similar to what I have for Damola is just pay attention to the keywords that you use, right? I do know that in the world of what's that, the applicant tracking system, the ATS, we tend to dump in as much keyword as possible to just go through the ATS. But then the question is, what happens after you've gone through the ATS? So, in my opinion, you don't need to have digitization there. I don't see what it does, because every single thing that we do as product managers is really about digitizing things. So it doesn't need to be there. So it's about looking at those keywords and asking yourself in your area of expertise, does it really need to be there? And then one of the things I think is missing here is a summary. I think people underestimate the power of summary, right? I've moved on from looking at CVs just because they don't have summaries. Yeah, and that's because I want to know who you are. I want to know every single thing I'm going to. It's almost like you're giving me a preview into every single thing I need to look at, right? Just 2 paragraphs, 1 paragraph gives you a sense of, okay, yeah, this person is really, really good. Okay, let's pay attention to the rest of the work. So it's something I think you should pay attention to. Experience, like I said in the previous resume, I don't know what Parity INC does. I don't know them. It would be nice to have some some brief description. Now, product manager payments tells me that, okay, yeah, you're in the fintech space. So now let's pay attention. Research. Mm. 1 second. I'm reading through.
Sure.
Oh, there's something that you're doing here that I really, really like. It's dragging me to the things that you want me to look at. All right. I see that you've created the technical requirements, like that kind of, it draws me in. Right? And it's very important. I think it's something that most people don't pay attention to. It tells me that, okay, that this is what you want me to look at. And it was really, really cool. So, okay, this is 2023. So I'm assuming this is a previous role. For the only document. I like it too. Right. I mean, if you look at this, it's telling me, okay, what the work that you've done resulted in 65% plus increase in process improvement. Love it. So now this is where it gets a little bit confusing. If you are looking at my face, you know that I kind of squinted a little bit. Is product operations part of the product manager payments? I know it is, right? But what you're trying to is also about, I mean, you're a product manager, it's about the user experience, right? What you're trying to do is to make sure that, 1 second, it might not be, is it? Like now, do you understand what is happening? Now I'm confused. Is it?
Yes,
Is it part of parity, or is it different? Is it like I'm saying product associate, I'm saying analyst? Are they all part of parity? Or scroll down a little bit, and let's just be sure. So
yes,
they all part of it.
Yes. Oh,
now this is it is nice, right? But it's about section. It's about telling me that all these are part of one single role. The other thing I have to say is, yeah, it's a little bit confusing. What I will do is indent the product operations towards the right a little bit. Would I do that? I don't think I will. What I would, yeah, it confuses me a little bit.
yes.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I think maybe if each of the other roles had maybe a time frame, it would have made it easier to see.
Yeah.
But they also still look like they were all within the product management team. So I think that's also something else.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, your CV is about the experience that whoever is looking at it, you want, it's like building a product, right? You want whoever is looking at it not to be confused. People don't look at TV for like anyway. So, and then the other thing I would say here is this, in my opinion, looks like way too many bullet points for one single role. All right. Well, except there's not so much of them. Can you scroll down a little bit, Lotus, and let's see if there's more.
Okay, so before I scroll down, I think John would actually like to comment.
Oh yeah, June, go. Sorry.
Oh no, I wanted actually to just send. I've just seen I can type the questions in the chat. It was just asking your advice around how do you capture the different roles that you've held in a company. As you can see, I've been there for 2 years. So I came in as an analyst and sort of had role changes throughout those 2 years into product management, manager payments. So maybe that it's good that you've said that it's confusing, because then I'm getting that feedback. So my question was, what would be your advice on how to capture that that doesn't confuse somebody who's reading it?
Sweet. So here's something I would do. It is about indentation here, right? So I will move every single thing from, if this was my CV, right? I'll take a cue from what LinkedIn does a little bit. So I will indent every single thing below parity, like I'll move it towards the right a little bit, just to clearly tell whoever is looking at this that every single thing within this row is under parity, right? So now I will, once that is done, I don't know how much you're good in terms of designing. You might also want to add something that looks like lines that tells me that this, one dot product manager is one dot, the next dot is product operations, and then the next one is associate. This makes absolute sense, by the way. I think it's just about indenting it just a little bit. And you know what? You might want to do. Well, I think that will solve the problem, honestly. Sorry, let's just scroll down a little bit. Let me see if that solves the problem for us. Yeah, it does. Because it confuses me, because I think every single thing is on the same line with the actual organization. So the first thing I go was, okay, what is going on here? And another thing is, by the way, this is like a very raw opinion I'm giving you, because this is not me going and reviewing it and come back to give you opinion. So another thing that comes up here to me is, scroll up a little bit. Something that made it confuse me is, you see where you have research, and then it's almost like research is your subheading, and then you say things that are a bit more related to research. You have product owner, and then you say things that are related to product owner. So it confused me, because I thought, product operations is the next subheading under the product manager role, right? So because I'm thinking, okay, maybe you wanted to capture 2 bullet points of that product operation, but because you can't just write them under one line, you now capture them under each one of it. That's how I looked at it, right? But yeah, other than that, I think you're calling my attention to things that you want me to see. You're highlighting the numbers, which is really, really great. This is outcome driven, and you're not just telling me that you've built product. You're telling me that you've built product that helped achieve business goals. So this is great. And a little bit, Oluwatosin.
Yeah, thank you, Chinedu. So yes, maybe something she would like to do would be, instead of making like subheadings or highlights, just write everything as a sentence. I think it is easier to read and it will help with the flow than having research and still saying researched and did this.
Oh yeah,
Just
I agree with you. I agree. I was going to mention that, but that you're right. You're very right.
So I think we can move on here. Okay.
Yeah, and one other thing that is also important is that your CV and your resume should have just the right amount of information. And in my opinion, this does. Right. It tells me, I think the only thing that is missing here is just the summary. Like I said, I want to know who you are before I go through the actual roles and the jobs and the actions that you've taken within those roles.
Thank you. Okay. I think this is the rest here. Yes, for the other experiences that she has here.
Oh, one more thing. I see that this is like a 1-page
Yes,
CV.
it is.
Is that on purpose, or is it because there are not so much roles?
I didn't get that. I don't know if she did.
Yeah, that is on purpose. Again, I think I've gotten very contradictory information before, where I had a 2-page CV and somebody was like, that's too long. So I turned it into a 1-page CV just to capture the relevant experiences depending on what role I'm applying for. Yeah. So there's a few other things that have been extracted from there.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So this is obviously, again, is my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with a 2-page CV. I think a 2-page CV is just about the right amount of information. That's what I think. I've seen enough, and I think I've submitted enough CV too. So I mean, this goes both ways, yeah. To get a sense that 2 pages is just the right amount. So I would say don't be scared to do extra page if you think you need to. Just don't cross the 2-page mark. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room to go in and add, add in the summary that we mentioned, add in a few description of the organizations. And yeah, the other thing I mentioned in the previous CV is look for something different. Well, again, just sprinkle it with the right amount of sense, right? But just what makes me go, oh yeah, I need to look at it, right? So
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Inedu. I know you've touched on it, but I just wanted to ask. So when you look at the CV, what's the strength of the CV?
The what now?
The strength. What's the
Oh,
strength?
the strength is like it called me like what she has done with this is call my attention to the things that really she wants me to see, right? And that drives relevance. So here's I think there's some psychology around this is created. I can choose not to see every single thing, but I can see created on the first line, and then I can read whatever is left. I can choose not to see every single thing on the second bullet point, but I can see resulting in 65% process improvement. And then I can choose not to see everything around product operation, but I can see the number around the money. I can see the numbers around the number of series C African startups that she managed. Again, it's about when you look at this CV, it doesn't stop at the actions that she has taken. There's a step forward around the outcome, what came out of those actions that she, own the documentation, resulting in did this, and there has to be an outcome to every single action you take within the organization. Then I know that you're not regular, basically, right? And which is not what you want to be as a product manager.
Thank you so much for your feedback. So far, yes, one of the things I've taken as my own takeaway from this is that you should not underestimate the power of a well-crafted summary that's personalized, right? It's like how you introduce yourself or get whoever is looking at your CV to want to take an extra look or a second look or keep them interested. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to do one more quickly, and this is going to be Dio's CV. Dio is also looking to transition. So it may be similar to the first one, but I just wanted us to also give him feedback that would help him and others also as they go.
Oh, love it. So we have a summary here, which is nice. You don't need 2 phone numbers, trust me. Yeah, it's 1 second. Yeah, there's a little bit of personality in the summary, but in my opinion, it's lacking. I mean, the key things, like I said, if there's one thing you want to do is tell me where you're coming from, right? Tell me what your background is, and then tell me, the outcome of some of the work you've done. Then that leads me into, okay, you know what? Oh yeah, I can pay attention to the area of expertise.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So if this was my CV, I would take off the word mobile. I'll take off every single thing that has to do with mobile. I have one single phone number. I'll take off email. I'll really take off location, to be honest. And then I will reduce my LinkedIn. So I can do, because this is a link, right? Someone can click on it and it takes you to it. So you really don't need to do HTTPS. You could just do linkedin.com/, akin-dio.israel. So what you're trying to do is, as much as I said, take 2 pages, right? You're trying to not overwhelm me with so much information, because even if you don't put the word mobile there and I see +235, I know that's a phone number. You don't need to write the email if I see yahoo.com. I mean, respect. It's almost like you're showing me that respect, that have some level of sense, right? So again, always think about your CV as your product. You're going, oh, okay, this is something I need to hand over to someone. Think of the user experience. Think of every single thing that you need to do. Just the way you think about product, think about your CV that way. Again, I would take off innovative thinking. It boils down to those key. Like I said, in a world of 8 years, every single one person is paying attention to go through that 8 years. But the truth of the matter is that some things would drag you down instead of elevating you as you think they would, right? I'll take off innovative thinking. You want to stay as pragmatic and as practical as possible. Not because every single person is having this long, interesting words, you want to dump them on your CV. No, I'll take them out. Now, here, this is something that is very, very minute, but this is what tells me something around attention to detail. So if you see your first bullet point has excellent and verbal written, there's no period there, there's no full stop, right? Communication has a full stop. Emotional intelligence has a full stop. Reporting doesn't. Customer relation management doesn't, right? Innovative thinking has. So now it has nothing to do with your CV, but it tells me, oh, well, is it that you didn't pay attention to all these small things? And then what it tells me, or what it kind of infers, is that, so if I give this person this job, they might be making this kind of mistake. What if I don't catch this mistake in the future, right? So those are the kind of things I want you to pay attention to. They're very tiny things that can open up the next kind of form for you. Scroll down a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned tools. The reason why it's nice if you can stick in tools there is that there are specific job descriptions that clearly states that you should have used some of these tools, right? It kind of gives you an edge, and whether you like it or not, some of these like tools are entered on the ATS to help them save or just review CVs that go through. So something you should pay attention to. Okay. Yeah, I know this is okay. Again, this is about action. There's no, when you look at the bullet points on psychologists, right? This is about actions. There's no outcome driven. A transferable skill here is, if you're interfacing with various people, is that not stakeholder management, right? So I mean, people going through psychology distress. My God, engineers go to psychology distress. So you could as well just you manage certain kind of. So you wouldn't call them stakeholders, but right, there's customer experience there, because, and then you're dealing with especially pregnant women. So it's also a specific kind of customers that you need to cater to their needs. So you can't help a pregnant woman if you're not empathetic, right? So that means that you've done some of these things that we do as product managers. So in this instance, the pregnant women are your users. So the question becomes, how do I frame this in a way that tells me that, oh, okay, this person knows how to manage people, right? That's how I would look at it, right? So like I said, that's really what we'll do. We'll make sure that whether you're speaking to your CEO, or you're speaking to the engineers, or you're speaking with marketing or sales, or whoever you're speaking with, the idea is every single one of them is going through some form of psychological distress. And our job is to make sure that we take those problems from the customers, turn them into solution, and then help every single one of these people sell it to the customers. Right. Psychological assessment could easily pass for requirement gathering. So because that's really what it is, right?
Yes.
That's exactly
Yes.
what it is. You're sitting with someone and you're trying to assess the person's problem. So now, again, like I said, it's about taking, or because that's really what you're most strong. I'm not going to hire you because you have 20 years of experience in product, because you don't have it. So the question becomes, what can I find in you that will make me trust you enough to get into this role, right, and succeed in that role? So, I mean, you're doing evaluation and appraisal. Is that not UAT? right. So those are the things that you have to find a way to balance them out.
Thank you so much, Chinedu. Yes, I also do agree. Like, I think one thing those transitioning need to really leverage on is the transferable skills.
Yeah.
So it may take you actually looking into the skills required for product management, techniques, whatever it is, to actually portray your CV in that light, so they know that even though you've not actually started out, but you already do some of the things that we already do in product management.
Yeah. One more thing, like I said, this is again about attention to detail. I'm sorry, I'm just like that.
Yes.
You see the
Yeah.
bullet points on the psychologist contract, right? And you see the bullet points under graduate psychologist. You see the alignment and the indentation there completely. Those are the things that you have to pay attention to. Like I said, it tells me so much more about. To be honest, right, I would stop looking at the CV now. Right, and it's not because you don't have the right kind of skill, but it goes beyond that. It's just I'm looking beyond the skills that you have. And the question I normally ask myself is, when people don't pay attention to detail, is what if I miss this mistake? All right, so how are we going to solve it? What if you make the next mistake that I don't catch? You get so.
Thank you. I think we can quickly run through this because of our time. So this is 3-paged.
Yeah, like I said, I'll stick it into 2. You can reduce the number of bullet points to maybe 2 or 3. If you think that your rows are running over, you can stop. The honest truth is that very few recruiters look through all your experience. Right. So again, it boils down to relevance. So if they look at the first role and the second role and the third role, they should have a glimpse. I mean, they've looked at your summary. They look at the first 3 rows. They should have a glimpse of who you are and what you've done so far. Right. So you need to keep bombarding them or overwhelming them with this much information? I would say no, you don't.
So I think also this also goes back to when you mentioned having the right amount of information.
Exactly. Yeah. Just don't make it too small. Just don't make it too much. All right.
Yeah. So you have to find a balance between both. So we also have lots here as regards his experience, education. Yeah. Oh, so he has the certifications here.
Where will I stick certifications? Scroll up. Let's see your experience. What comes after? Yeah, I think you would follow this format, but I would make sure that my education, my certification falls on the second page. It doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay to take away roles that you don't like. It's not, you don't need. There's a way I've seen so many people capture it. Some can go, if they do like the first 3 or first 4 rows, and then they can do other rows. They'll just list the names, like the different roles and the organization, and then they'll stop there instead of having to list out the different. Because I mean, to be honest, you're going to be saying almost the same thing that you said
Yeah.
in the first
Yeah.
3 or 4 rows.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. So yes, thank you so much for giving feedback. I know that Dairo has actually written a whole book of feedback. Yeah, thank you so much for this, and everyone. So before we go into the question and answer, I think one of the questions session, right? I can see people already dropping in questions. One thing I want to know is, so from these 3 CVs that we've reviewed, right? What would now be like how okay, so let me just say that what will now be like what PM should have on their CVs? What should be the element of a PM CV to stand out, right?
So yeah, there has to be, obviously, it has to be the action that you've taken, but there has to be an outcome of that action. An example is, I took ownership. An example is the one that Muraj on that we'll take a look at. That's a good example. You could do something around, I took this action. I own the delivery of this product from ideation to launch, and which led to 50,000 users in the first year and this amount of money at the end, right? So a couple of keywords that you need, obviously, you need discovery, you need stakeholder management, you need scoping and analysis, you need strategy and vision. Those are very important. If you can stick in use case anywhere, just do stick it in. But what really wins it for you is paying attention to the job description that you're applying for. This is where relevance comes into play. So this is how it normally happens. It's whoever the hiring manager, a product manager within the organization goes, I need someone else to help me. And they give them whatever, they give him the budget for it, or give him or her the budget for it. He drafts the specification document, and then he passes that specification document to, did I say specification document? The job description. He or she passes the job description to recruiter. The recruiter takes the job description and asks the hiring manager, what are the key roles that you want, right? Then the hiring manager goes, you know what, this person should have done stakeholder management, done discovery, done all these things. Now, the recruiter takes those keywords that the hiring manager have mentioned and imputes those keywords in the ATS, right? So obviously, when you submit your CV, it has to go through that very first phase, which is the ATS look through and make sure that you have those matching keywords. If it goes through, this is where, like I said, the recruiter takes those CV and looks through them and go, okay. So the first phase, you need to pass the first phase. For you to pass the first phase is dependent on the job description. So you need to thoroughly look at the job description, right? I know most people say you need to have one CV. You really don't need to have one. You have as multiple as possible.
So yeah, that's like it was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
So this means that as a product manager, you have to have multiple CVs.
Yeah.
You can't just
can't
use one CV to apply for different roles. You actually have to keep tailoring your CV.
You can have one that you call generic. Maybe if you're lazy not to modify it, you could just send that one. But every single CV that you're working on, I mean, again, is a product, right? You can't, for instance, take a savings product and give to, someone that wants a data product, right? That's exactly how CVs work. You need to look at your resume and look at the job description and go, okay, so what are in this job description that I can make them show up on my CV? So that's really what you need to pay attention. And that's where relevance comes into play. The relevance takes you beyond that ATS. Now, obviously, it doesn't just stop there. It takes you also beyond the recruiter. All right, that's what you want to do. You want to get your foot in the door, not past the door. Well, you want to go past the door, not in the door this time around. All right. So, yeah, that's what I would say. There's no amount of, I can't list out all the keywords and go, you should have this, you should have this, you should have this. There are a couple of things that I say, it has to be relevant. It has to be different, right? And then really need to pay attention to detail. Those ones are like the key things that you need to do. And then the other bit is there's some generic product management keywords that your CV should have. You owned it, like ownership, stakeholder management, product strategy, vision. It depends on the industry, the organization you're working at needs to now be. If there's a B2B organization, stick in B2B there. If there's a SaaS organization, stick in SaaS there. If there's a B2C organization, if there's a fintech, stick in fintech. So it's about looking at the job description and just adapting your CV to fit into that job description.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. We just have one last question to take. That's from Winda. So they're asking that I don't quite understand how to apply transferable skills. Should the action point for each job role be edited to reflect transferable skills, or should it be reflected in the summary?
So the thing is, you're trying to tell me a story, right? Or it should be reflected, to answer the question, it should be reflected in the bullet points for each of the roles that you've done, right? That's what you're trying to do. I mean, summary, you can obviously get all of them into the summary. That's one. Now, this is very, very unusual, but it's something that I think we should pay attention to, especially if you're transferring. If you're transferring, I'm not hiring you because you've done product before. I'm hiring you because you have something you've done before that can be beneficial to me when you come into product. Now, with that in mind, the question you're asking yourself is, how do I change each of the bullet points within each role that I found myself, right? How do I adapt it to kind of reflect some of the work that is done within a product role? That's what you should do.
Thank you so much for that. So should be reflected on the bullet point, right? And also make sure that, okay, I think we have another one. I think because of time, okay, we're already running it. We just have 1 more minute. I don't want us to go beyond.
That's the one from Kano, yeah?
Yes, from Kano.
So the thing is, I mean, the follow-up question I have is, when you say real life experience, is that any experience at all, or is it experience from product? I hope they answer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so the experience I was talking about is you've not really collaborated with maybe set of people, like a team, to build a product that people can use, and maybe from there you can get the outcome. Maybe you just transition and you've just been doing like a case study, writing PRDs, product tear down, and the rest of it, and you're looking for an entry role to actually get an experience into building a live product. How do you now structure your CV to fit in that kind of role?
I think you can tell me exactly about the things that you are doing. It doesn't have to be like, you can tell me that you've written a product specification document for this product that you're working on as a side hustle or something like that. I mean, the question I had was, are you saying you don't have any real life experience, even in a different role, even if it's not product? Is that what you're saying?
No, pertaining to products, not other fields.
Oh yeah, I think, like I said, you can stick it in there, right? You can add it as, you know what, this is what I've been doing for some time. Just tell me the story enough to go, okay, yeah, you know what, it kind of might be helpful here. What your CV is trying to do is convince whoever is reading it, isn't it? Right. So you don't have to, especially, again, it's important that you understand that whoever is asking you to come in as an entry level role, or I don't know what people classify as entry now, but whoever is coming to take you on as a junior PM or as an entry level, doesn't expect you to have a wealth of experience. The people that they take into those roles are people that show a drive, that show potential. So people hire you because of what you could be, not because of what you are at this moment.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nedu, for your time. And thank you everyone for joining. Yes, it will be dropped in the channel, in the chat, so that if you have questions, or you can even ask on the general group and we'll get back to us there. So thank you for this insightful session. At least for even me, I know I've gotten some things here, things that we probably overlook, right?
Yeah.
Like the font, the attention to details, having a summary that is personalized, amongst other things. I know that we would all be taking a second look at our CVs and not just sending the same one round for every job advert we see or role, right? We'll get to at least tweak to make sure that we have keywords that will make our CV stand out. I think one thing to remember is that on Saturday, we have the weekly check-in calls, and this is where we just have the opportunity to touch base, share how your week has been, if you have issues with products that you manage or whatever you want to do, just like an opportunity to just chill, relax, vent, and get better and energized for the next week. So please do join us on Saturday for these check-in calls. I think that's all from me now. Thank you so much, Chinedu, for your time. It was really insightful and rich. Do enjoy the rest of
Thank you,
evening.
Chinedu. We love you.
All right. Thanks, Ross. Bye now.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. Sorry, before we drop off, please let's not forget our weekly meetings. We also have like other programs. Ranging from webinars on Thursdays to group mentorship session this same time next week, and we'll be having like a weekly check-in call among solo managers this Saturday. Starts from 8. It's usually interesting. We get to release whatever tension we held throughout the week. So please don't forget that this Saturday from 8 to 10 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have also apologized for taking more than time, but thank you so much. It was really an interesting session. See you same time next week for the group mentorship session. Bye, everyone.